Welcome. We're going to take an interesting trip through time today to learn about Britain's amazing history. Imagine a place that was once secret and mysterious slowly coming into the light and becoming one of the most important countries in the world. We will see it change from a quiet island to a busy center of power and action. Let's start with the Romans. They came with their strong armies and built towns and roads that are still around today. Then we'll go back in time to a time of brave knights and huge castles, when fights were great and stories were made. The kings and queens we'll meet changed not only Britain, but also the whole world. We are now moving into the age of steel and steam, when factories grew quickly and towns grew bigger than ever. Britain was ahead of its time at this point, coming up with ideas and finding things that changed the lives of millions of people. Hold on tight. In a moment, we will see how history unfolds and learn why Britain is so important to our lives. Let's learn about the people and events that made Britain what it is today, from its humble beginnings to its great leaps forward. Prehistoric Britain. Let's go back in time to prehistoric Britain, a long time before the first house or wheel. The people here really did make it through a time when they didn't have any of the comforts we see today. It wasn't for fun. They had to catch wild animals with tools made of stones and bones so they could have food for the next day. They knew the land so well that they could hug it. They picked nuts and fruits from the woods. In a world of green fields and dark woods, picture them sitting around fires and telling stories under the stars. Their life was hard, but it helped build the Britain we know today. Every tool they made and every meal they caught taught them how to live in balance with nature. Roman conquest and settlement. Today is a different time. Long ago, the powerful Romans came to Britain and were ready to add it to their huge kingdom. The Romans were great at building things and making plans. They built strong roads that linked cities like dots on a map. These weren't just any cities, though. They were well-run, full of merchants and artists, and safe and comfortable places for people to live. Britain learned new ways to farm from the Romans, who showed them how to get more from the land. They brought order and peace to Britain by putting up a trade and government system that had a big impact on everyday life. Because they left such a strong mark, some of their roads and walls are still standing today. The Dark Ages and Viking invasions, Britain went through a time of chaos and confusion after the Romans left. This was called the Dark Ages, but that's not the end of the story. Next come the Vikings, who were fierce fighters and smart traders from the north. The Vikings weren't just wild thieves like many people think of them to be. They also settled down, worked the land, and traded with the locals. People from these groups lived in groups and married into British families. Their culture and genes can still be seen in some parts of Britain today. Medieval Britain. Imagine stepping back into medieval Britain, a time of knights, castles, and big changes. In 1066, the Normans from France sailed across the Channel, won a big battle at Hastings, and took over. They built huge stone castles across the land, which you can still visit today. These castles weren't just homes, they were fortresses to keep the Normans safe and show everyone who was in charge. The Normans also brought new rules that changed the way land was owned and governed. Then there's the Magna Carta in 1215, a big deal in history. It was a document that promised to protect the rights of the people and limit the king's power. It's like the early version of the rules that protect our freedoms today. Tudor Britain, fast forward to the time of the Tudors, a royal family that put England on the map with their love of art, culture, and adventure. This was the golden age of exploration in the arts. Think of William Shakespeare writing his famous plays that we still watch and love today. Then there were explorers like Sir Francis Drake, who traveled across the world's oceans, claiming new lands for England and helping to turn it into a major naval power. The Tudors loved luxury and drama, and this was a time when England really started to shine on the world stage, attracting attention from all over Europe. The Stuart period and civil wars. Now let's talk about the Stuarts, who ruled after the Tudors. This was a roller coaster period for Britain, filled with drama and disagreements over how the country should be run. The Stuarts and the people had different ideas about power and who should hold it. These tensions boiled over into a series of civil wars, where for a brief time, Britain didn't have a king or queen at all, and it tried out being a republic, a country without monarchs. Oliver Cromwell led this republic, but it didn't last long. Eventually, the monarchy was brought back, but the royal family had much less power than before, and they had to share it with Parliament. This was a big step towards the system of government we have now in Britain, Industrial Revolution. Let's wind back to a time when Britain started to change dramatically, buzzing with the sounds of machines and glowing with the fires of industry. This was the Industrial Revolution, a period when everything changed from how people made things to how they lived and traveled. New machines like the steam engine made it possible to do work that used to take much longer. For example, factories could make clothes and goods quickly and in huge quantities, sending them all over the world and making Britain a powerhouse of production. The Victorian era and Empire next step into the Victorian era, named after Queen Victoria, under whose rule Britain became the largest empire the world had ever seen. It was a time of extraordinary progress in science and technology. Trains connected cities across continents, and the telegraph made it possible to communicate over long distances instantly. This was also a golden age for literature, with authors like Charles Dickens capturing the spirit and challenges of the times. The world wars in mid-20th century. Moving forward to the 20th century, Britain faced its greatest challenges during the two world wars. The country showed remarkable strength and resilience, with millions serving and contributing to the war effort. The wars brought unimaginable hardship, but also led to significant social changes. After the wars, Britain was determined to build a better society. The introduction of the National Health Service and welfare systems aimed to ensure that every citizen had support and medical care. Contemporary Britain today. Britain stands as a vibrant and diverse nation, celebrated for its rich history and contributions to arts and culture. It's a place where ancient traditions meet modern innovations. Britain remains a major player on the global stage, known for its leading role in music, fashion, and the arts. It's also a country of lively political debates, highlighted by recent decisions like Brexit, which reflect its evolving nature and continued influence in world affairs. Britain today is a tapestry of old and new, constantly adapting and moving forward into the future. Conclusion: we've seen how Britain has changed through the ages, always building on its past to create a better future. Each period in history has left its mark, creating the Britain we know today. Did any of these historical moments catch your interest? What would you like to learn more about? Share your thoughts. Please be sure to smash that like and hit the subscribe button to keep us going. Thanks for watching.